Here's my brand new heirloom Kiss loom. I am about to undertake my very first project on it. And you can knit along. It's going to be a sampler scarf using bulky yarn. That's number 5 yarn in the US. I happen to have a bunch of this yarn left over from a larger project, and it's very soft, comfortable, and hand washable. So I'm going to use it. Any similar yarn will work. Use what you like. Just don't use something that itches. A scarf goes around the neck after all. And don't use something stiff. I only did a tiny swatch here to determine my general look of my fabric and stitch gauge. And I am going to be getting about 2.5 stitches per inch, which will result in a scarf 6 inches wide, and that suits me just fine. You don't have to be incredibly fussy. We're not overly picky about the width of a scarf. Anything from 6 to 8 inches is usually acceptable. So I did use all of 7 of the washers that came with this loom. Let me try to turn it so you can see better. To get my spacing. If you need another one or one less, that's fine. We all knit differently. It's okay to borrow washers from a different loom. You could manage the same thing on a small gauge loom with more washers, and on nearly all of the regular gauge looms you're going to have enough pegs. I'm going to use them all. I just swatched on these few. But now that the swatching is done, I will pull this out and reuse it to cast on. Join me in a minute. I'm planning to start with the crocheted cast on because it will match a bind off easily, and both ends of the scarf will show at the same time. There we go. I have other good Kiss loom videos specifically on casting on, but we'll go over this quickly. The trick with a crocheted cast on is that you do want one of your chain stitches around each peg, but you mustn't get the pins involved where the cast on will hang up. It will refuse to knit down. So I'm going around the pin. Now I'm making a chain stitch around the peg, tightening it up as needed, and around the next pin. We'll go all the way across like that, and eventually hang the loop on this peg. See you in a minute. Here we are. You should have chain stitches all along one side and loops ready to knit off all along the other. Here's the working yarn end, and here's the loop to pop on the final peg, ready to knit. To make neat edges, they're all knit edges of course, I'm going to slip the first peg, which means don't wrap it, don't knit it, and knit, purl all the way across. And our first section will be entirely seed stitch. That's knit one, purl one across, and then do the opposite, purl one, knit one. Or another way of looking at it is purl the stitches that were knitted last row, knit the stitches that were purled last row. So all the way across I go, knitting one and purling one. Now we can look down into our work, and it's very easy to see what was knitted and what was purled. Trying to turn it so it catches the light a little bit better for you. That's a knit stitch. The one next to it is a purl stitch. So on the return trip, we're going to slip the first stitch. I can see that the first one that I'm really going to work into is a knit stitch, so I will purl it. And after this, I'll just alternate all the way across. And keep on doing this, alternating across and up the work for at least 2 inches. We're going to build in some personal taste to this. If you want a really long scarf, you can make each segment longer than I'm going to do. but I'm going to go for 2 to 3 inches. I haven't actually decided yet. This is part of the adventure. I will see you when I get there. And you work on yours, and we'll do the next thing.